Welcome to another exciting episode of the Contractor Business Builder podcast. Today we're joined by Michelle Hamilton, who spent 30 years in construction and now leads global AI adoption at Answer Rocket. She's worked with enterprise companies to actually implement AI into real workflows. If you've tried ChatGPT, felt overwhelmed, or wondered how AI actually fits into estimating, project management, and construction SOPs, this episode is going to be for you to give you practical ways to start using it immediately without breaking your business. So, Michelle Hamilton, AI adoption change management practice lead at Answer Rocket. How are you doing today, Michelle?
Derek, I'm doing great. Thank you. I really appreciate you having me.
Perfect. So definitely, I'm sure there's a lot of story there behind, 30 years in the architecture, engineering, construction space, and now, moving into AI adoption. What have you pulled from your experience, and how did that transition come about into leading the way with AI?
I have to tell you, I really lucked out in that I received a beta copy of ChatGPT about 6 months before the rest of the world had ever heard of it, and had about a 6 month lead time to iterate actually back and forth with my son, who was in college at the time. And we began working through some of our own approaches, workflows, and iterations in understanding what does natural language processing mean and how can humans, everyday users, actually use technology as an actual choreographer, someone that is actually building on their own technological use cases and not waiting for someone else in technology to hand them their solutions. And it immediately took off as soon as everybody knows ChatGPT dropped. It certainly became incredibly enticing. By then, I had already been working with quite a few of my colleagues that were in the construction space, architecture, engineering, development, real estate, and honestly, just coaching friends and business owners privately, and then eventually built out a business practice behind it. Started my own AI companies about 2 years ago. And then this year, Answer Rocket, which is a global AI company, they've been building AI systems since 2013, found me and said, this is one of the hottest topics is understanding adoption and not overwhelming people with new language. So I opted to sell my companies and join them.
Wonderful. That's great. So as far as, I think a lot of contractors have definitely experimenting, if not investing pretty heavily in AI, knowing how good the results and efficiencies can be. But I think a lot are struggling to actually realize those
Mhm.
results or the efficiencies that, are promised with AI. Where do you see the disconnect or what's the difference between those utilizing it effectively and those that are just trying it but not getting results?
Sure. I actually think it begins with truly understanding what you can ask AI to do alongside you and not thinking of it as just hyper Google, not thinking of it as just a way to answer your email, but really actually utilizing it as a thinking partner, not to replace you, not to replace your employees, but to allow them to create efficiencies in their work with the information and the knowledge and expertise that they already have. But now they have this unbelievable personal assistant that can be working alongside them, doing research, beginning to build documentation, understanding their clients, or even understanding new permitting and codes that are dropping and having an ability to still do your job, but now you've got something that you can have a conversation with and ask it to do some of the research that might have taken you a day, a week, or a month to do. Now you can get that done so much more expeditiously. But where I'm finding the biggest problem is that people feel like that they have to understand a lot of IT language and don't truly understand that if you can explain what you're trying to do and you can have a conversation with a colleague, you already have the skills available to you to be an AI super user because it wants you to iterate and talk through what you are ultimately looking for it to partner with you on. The less you tell it, the less it will perform. The more you tell it, the more background information you give it, the better it is going to be for you. There's a lot of strategies that go into it as far as protecting you, ensuring that everything is cited and correct and not hallucinated. But just starting with the idea that you can actually just simply talk to it. And I actually have most of my clients use their AI in voice mode or in transcription mode 50% of the day so that they can just hit that button while they're at a job site and start talking about what they're working on and what they're going to need help with.
That's great. Lots to unpack there, and you mentioned
Yeah.
a whole bunch of good stuff. I think the bit of a mindset shift as far as the AI is not there to necessarily replace or fully take over jobs. They're really there to help support people and make them more knowledgeable, efficient. Essentially, everyone now can have an assistant, and you can have assistants for all your employees that just help them be better at what they're doing. You've mentioned one thing. Well, there's a bunch of stuff there, but you mentioned super user. What would you consider like an AI super user? What does that mean, or what's the difference there?
Sure. Somebody that I would consider to be a super user is first of all someone that understands the need to use multiple models that also are building out workflows where the AI is acting on their behalf while they're away from their desk and bringing back reporting either through scheduled tasks, through building out more advanced agents, or truly understanding how to take often decades of data and turn that into information that will allow you to understand how to act moving forward regarding projects, project types, cost of materials, supply chain, whatever that might be. A super user is someone that reaches beyond just asking, I need you to help me write this email. It's someone that sees the possibilities of connecting multiple tools together, both their invested third-party tools, like a Procore, for instance, or some of their foundational tools like a Microsoft or a Google product. How are you connecting those tools together in order to lean into the knowledge that you already have access to? It feeds the engine and allows it to truly work far faster and better to get you the results that you need.
Perfect. Thanks for clarifying what
Sure.
that is. And it's interesting to me that really the strong skill that organizations need more of and has been known for so much is communication, right? It's
Mhm.
communication within your teams of people, but now it's also communication with AI, as you mentioned.
Mhm.
If you provide inadequate information or, it's getting better and better and it can intuit a lot of different things.
Right.
But the better that you learn to communicate with AI, the better, output that you'll essentially get. Now, you've said AI is really a people problem. It's not a technology problem. Can you kind of elaborate or explain what you mean by
Yeah.
that?
One of the mistakes that I see a lot of owners or key stakeholders making is assuming that if they invest in AI, that the people will just figure out how to use it. And my favorite analogy is if you had a job site and all of your trades arrived or your subs arrived, and you didn't know if they knew how to use the tools, perform the acts that you had hired them for, and just said, I need you to build that building for me. Well, they might be able to coordinate themselves and build something. Is it going to be a building? Is it going to be a structure that is both safe, inhabitable? Is it going to be, the foundation going to be appropriately and properly scoped out? No, because you didn't understand the tools. You handed somebody a screwdriver to do the job of a hammer because you just assumed they knew what they were doing. And AI is exactly the same way for ownership to assume that your employees just know how to use it is oftentimes a costly mistake because they will inadvertently put in information that does not belong in there because you absolutely need to protect data, privacy, PII, HIPAA. You've got to be thinking about all of those things, but also the ability to teach everyone how to use this tool for their job and their role to build the building or to build the RFP.
Got it. Let's say I have a construction company, we've got, I don't know, 20, 50 people, whatever it may be, and we want to start utilizing AI in a bigger way. How would you approach like training or getting people up to speed on AI?
The way that we approach our training is first we do meet with the key stakeholders to understand what is the current tech stack, what are you currently using, what have you currently invested in, and what are some of your areas where you'd really like to see growth. Then we begin to map out your most likely use cases and users. We provide AI 101 training, if you will, to the entire team so that everybody is leveled up simultaneously with use cases, clear understanding of how to speak to the AI, acknowledgement of what is the governance that an organization is put forth. And then from there, I always recommend then we go department by department. We talk to the estimators, we talk to the site supers, marketing, biz dev, whatever it might be. It could be finance, but really then get hyper focused on what are their KPIs, what are their deliverables, what does their job look like. When I train a firm, they do not receive the same training as anybody else. It is only focused on who they are, their client type, and their most likely work type so that we can develop very customized delivery. Now, from there, the rest of my team then is also talking to those owners to understand how are you utilizing your data? How are you building out internal predictive models to help you determine how to grow, how to either expand or contract, how to even predict shifts in the economy? And they're going to work directly with those key data holders within an organization to build out custom models for your company's data only. Not putting it out into an enterprise model, but building something that is your company's proprietary data AI engine, and my whole team can come in and serve the entire company, or it can be as simple as some of the training that I was mentioning. But I will tell you, in construction, data does seem to be king, and understanding how to move and how to predict oftentimes is the measure of success. And having something that can read literally thousands of data points simultaneously, infer from those, and then begin to predict operational measures is an astonishing use of the tool.
Yeah, very, powerful abilities to sift through information and extrapolate, useful ideas and feedback and things like that. With construction, there's so much communication, there's so many plans, specification codes,
Mhm.
emails, just a lot going back and forth, lots of stakeholders, regulations, and so much more that being able to make that make sense, which an
Mhm.
AI can help do, is really powerful. Now, as far as, maybe mistakes or pitfalls to avoid, or maybe things contractors aren't seeing, what do you see sort of commonly happening as far as mistakes, maybe by the business or even by individual employees of the business using AI?
Believing what the AI tells you, if you, number one, have not properly told the AI what you're looking for and given it all of the information that it is going to need to act on your behalf. A big mistake is not remaining the human in the loop. And AI makes everything sound unbelievably perfect. And it is very easy to fall into the trap of saying, I don't know, that all looks pretty good to me, without reading every single word. But you can also force AI to cite its sources, go show you a full bibliography of where it got every single fact that it is sharing with you. Almost show the math, if you will. How did you come to this price point? How did you help determine this investment? you can ask it to show its work and hyperlink its own citations and results. But one of my favorite tips and tricks is always ask for that, but then take everything that it tells you and upload it to a second model and ask that second model to prove the first model wrong. Ask the second model to find all of the mistakes. And then you've got two bits of information that you're working with here. It doesn't mean you do not still need to read every single word, but it does give you a head start in finding and catching any of the hallucinations and inconsistencies. I think the other mistake I'm seeing is that organizations are not realizing that they have built their reputation on their brand and on their voice, and that their clients have trusted them oftentimes for more than 100 years in some of my clients' cases. That brand and that voice needs to stay front and center when you are using AI, and learning how to train AI models and how to be a proper representative of your organization is a really important lesson, so that it is reflective of how you talk about your work, how you talk as an individual contributor, and what is the language that has supported the success of your company being around, so that it aligns as an employee, not just as this AI that makes everything sound great, might have mistakes, and is filled with hyperbole. There's no point.
Yeah, fantastic points, and definitely encountered both of those where on the first pass it often sounds really good, but you really do have to kind of question it sometimes if it's giving you specific things and they're a little bit off. And then also having different models that you can sort of play off each other does just really make the output that much better, especially if you want something refined and like double checked. I know I've done that in a number of cases, and you find certain models have certain strengths or personalities, if you will, and
Mhm.
are just better suited for different things. But one thing with AI, I know that I do more and more of now, especially if I want really good output, is you've got to be a little bit hard on it and just and
Yeah,
ask it like, 8 out of 10, is this the best that you think this can be, or how can we improve this? Because
right.
at the first go, it's a large language model. It's going to use percentages of what it expects to be the most relevant or active or the thing you want to hear, but it
Right.
may not actually be the best, whatever answer or output that you need. So asking it to cited sources to improve upon itself. What are you missing? How can you make this sound more human? How if you were considering this from my stakeholders' viewpoint, how would the output change? Like really diving into it and asking it some kind of deeper questions will definitely set you on the right track. And then what you said about your voice, I know I'm guilty of this. Our company is as
Yeah.
well, where we put out marketing materials or different things and maybe a little quickly, and it eventually ends up starting to sound the same as a lot of the other stuff out there, even though we're inputting, our ideal clients and our brand messaging and everything. You do have to work with it and really refine that to make sure that you're not losing that human touch and things aren't coming off as just another, AI output or what have you. So now, as far as specific use cases or strategies for contractors, what have you seen kind of make the biggest improvements or shifts inside an organization as far as specific areas that AI is helping?
One of the most common use cases I get asked to demonstrate is, how do you answer an RFP, determine whether it's a go, no go, and then begin to fill that RFP out with known language and documentation? And how do you take, let's say, this 60-page RFP and immediately find the top 10 things that you would ask of every RFP? Key dates, key stakeholders, deliveries, what kinds of permitting are we or licensure do we need to have? What are the expectations? Being able to upload a 60-page document and within, 10 to 20 seconds, now you can have a conversation with that document and ask it, tell me what are, give me the top three key deadlines. What are the deliverables? What do we need to provide in both writing and electronically? Who are the key stakeholders? Go out and do research on who the ultimate client is so that I can be understanding a little bit more about what is important to them. Why are they, let's say, building this building? What do I need to know in order to help my team perform better in winning or determining, you know what, this RFP is not for us? Reading 60 pages takes a long time. Finding that information takes even longer. If you have a head start like that, first of all, it's a huge time saver. But then you can also ask that RFP to go ahead and write emails to everybody internally in my company asking for deliverables, project examples, data sets, resumes, whatever that might be, all in the same conversation. It can begin to build out communication internally for you so that you can get that out to everybody on time. You start getting that information brought in. And then at the same time, you might upload a couple of example RFPs, or maybe you're working in a project folder where you've got RFPs already loaded. Now you can say, I want you to begin to fill this out for me with all of the information. That's the same information we generally provide. Tell me all of the detailed questions that I am really going to need to finesse, research, and work with my team to make a determination on. It cuts down the time of answering an RFP of 2 to 4 weeks to it can be done easily in a week with the right prompts, the right questions, and you save a lot of frustration if you realize that it's a no-go for you. You don't have all of the correct licensure, you don't have the correct team members, or it's just not your ideal client profile. It sounds great, but it's not for us. It ends up saving your team a lot of time so that they can get about the business of moving on to the next one or to another internal project. My other favorite use case is for business development teams at conferences or networking events where they are out really seeking to make connections to build their opportunities and pipeline. Using AI in mobile and telling it while you're in the car or while you're at the airport, hey, I'm going to this conference, I'm going to this networking event. Here are the people that I'm looking for. Here's what I'm hoping to get out of it. Setting it up so it knows what you're doing. Then you're at the networking event. Every time you talk to someone that you need to remember to follow up with, and maybe you had a very interesting conversation with them where they included maybe some personal, interesting details. You're going to step away for 20 seconds and just hit that same conversation, hit the transcribe mode and say, well, I just met with Derek Isaac and he's got this fantastic new podcast. And gosh, I have to tell you, he went on this great vacation. And I want to make sure I send him an email tomorrow saying how much I enjoyed it and that I think we have some opportunities to really connect over an opportunity of some sort. And you just do that throughout the night, or when you're in the car or at the airport on your way home, finish that thought out and have it go ahead, start doing all the research, drafting all the emails, and getting the work ready so that when you are back at your desk, all of that mobile work has now been turned into actionable plans and drafts of emails that you can get out so much more efficiently.
Wonderful. Yeah, great use cases. And yeah, I hadn't thought about using it as a note taker so much at like a networking event or something like that. But yeah, really great use cases and so much time savings. Now, as far as the future goes, I mean, AI is improving so much and it continues to improve more and more. I think the newer thing right now is, agentic AI and it taking care of these tasks for you automatically, sometimes, on your computer, opening programs and doing things for you. Is that something that companies are rolling out, or like, is there safety concerns there? Can you maybe just give us a little bit of a snapshot of where you sort of see things going more on the cutting edge of going more from a prompt based, back and
Yes.
forth to an actual agentic AI that's, getting tasks done and doing
I love
things
that.
online
I
for
love
us?
that. That actually is one of Answer Rocket's superpowers. They have an entire division devoted to agentic AI and building out agentic workflows, almost building out agent-based employees for companies, but they also focus very heavily in teaching and educating companies in how to set agents up and have them working in a safe environment. What files do you give it access to? Where do you stop it from working autonomously without checking in with you on every single step that it takes? Not sending out emails on your behalf. You should always review emails. Make sure that it is both correct and the information is there and that, frankly, it's in your voice, but really understanding where does agentic AI belong and where doesn't belong, and how can you be the orchestrator of that so that you are truly standing in front of the orchestra and saying, now I need you to do this, and then now you're going to come in, and then you're going to come in, and you're going to come in. It does take some coaching and it does take, first of all, experimenting with it and having fun with it is great. You should be very careful and know what you're doing so that it is not deleting files from your system, which an agent can easily do if you have not permissioned it properly and correctly. So, I'm fortunate that I have an entire team of agent experts, if you will, that help me with my agents, but there's also some really phenomenal tools out there. I happen to be a big Claude user and use both Claude Cowork and Claude Code to build out my own agentic workflows that, frankly, I will tell you have made my work life significantly better in that when I arrive in the morning at 5 a.m., it has already looked at my calendar for the day. It has already read all my email for the day. It has researched every person I'm meeting with, given me a dossier on what we're going to be talking about and what are they interested in. It is then checking my Slack channel. It is, it is kind of covering the gamut so that when I sit down at my desk, I have what I would call a chief of staff handing me that set of paperwork and saying, here's your day. I've done all the preparation and research for you. What else do you need to know?
Perfect. Thanks for clarifying that. And again, these things are stuff you want to get right, but
Mhm.
also don't have an excuse of, not trying some stuff out, start small,
Yes.
start in an environment, like you said, that's safe, where there's not much access to different things and start to use it. Our company is very involved with this as well as far as like our internal workflows and our teams. And it does make your life so much easier when these different agentic AIs are set up, or even just having standard prompts and procedures, documentation. It makes everything flow a lot easier, a lot quicker. So, thanks so much for coming on here, Michelle. If people want to learn more about Answer Rocket, the work you do, getting AI into their business to increase efficiency and just solve problems for them, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Two ways. They can find me on LinkedIn. It's michellehamilton.ai on LinkedIn. And I post a lot. I love conversations. I love meeting people like yourself and really chatting back and forth. And they can also visit answerrocket.com to learn more about the work that we're doing. They are working with some of the world's largest construction companies and providing them everything that we've talked about today and so much more. So it's such an exciting time.
Wonderful. So we'll put links in the description of this, audio, video, wherever you're watching or listening in from. Go click through, check out Answer Rocket, get in touch with Michelle here to learn more and get, AI working for you. Thanks so much, Michelle.
Thanks, Derek. Appreciate it. Have a great day.